Disruption is no longer a word reserved for start-ups or tech evangelists. It has become the fabric of our reality, the constant background noise in which every organization now operates. For centuries, we have relied on the illusion of stability, believing that industries would evolve slowly and predictably. That comfort zone has been shattered. Today, the rate of change has accelerated to a point where the ground beneath our feet never stops shifting. Think about the technologies that are shaping our industries: artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, digital twins, blockchain. These aren't futuristic concepts anymore. They are the very tools redefining how we design, build, and manage the infrastructure that societies depend on. What was once experimental is now standard, and what feels cutting edge today will be obsolete tomorrow. When disruption becomes the new normal, clinging to outdated playbooks is the fastest way to irrelevance. For firms and leaders in engineering, consulting, and construction, the danger is not that technology will replace us, it's that we will fail to reimagine our role in a transformed landscape. We must recognize that the real threat is not competition from other firms, but competition from the future itself. The pace of innovation means that business models, project delivery methods, and client expectations are all being rewritten in real time. If we continue to define success the way we did 10 or 20 years ago, we will be building solutions for a world that no longer exists. The real challenge, then, is to cultivate agility as a core competency. Agility is not about moving faster. It's about moving smarter. It means being willing to abandon sunk costs, to question long-held assumptions, and to re-engineer strategies on the fly. The best firms of the future will not be those with the biggest balance sheets, but those with the most adaptable mindsets. Disruption punishes rigidity, but rewards reinvention. In a sense, every wave of disruption offers us two choices: cling to the certainty of the past and risk collapse, or embrace the uncertainty of the future and find opportunity in chaos. The other aspect of disruption is that it democratizes innovation. The next breakthrough in infrastructure design might not come from a global conglomerate. It could come from a start-up, a university lab, or even an unexpected collaboration outside our traditional ecosystem. That means the boundaries of competition are dissolving. We are no longer just competing against the firm down the road. We are competing against ideas emerging from anywhere in the world. But this is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. When disruption is everywhere, the opportunity to collaborate, experiment, and scale new solutions is everywhere too. Ultimately, disruption is not a storm we wait out, it's the climate we live in. And just as engineers design structures to withstand unpredictable conditions, we must design our businesses, our leadership models, and our careers for a world in perpetual flux. Those who thrive in this era will not be the ones who resist change, but the ones who learn to dance with it. Clients today are no longer satisfied with services that simply check boxes or deliverables that arrive on time and within budget. That's the bare minimum, the entry ticket to play in the industry. What they truly want, and what they increasingly expect, goes far beyond execution. They are searching for foresight in a world where risk is constant, where disruption reshapes markets overnight, and where uncertainty clouds long-term decisions. The value of an engineering or consulting partner lies in the ability to anticipate what's coming and position clients ahead of it. That is the ultimate shift in client expectations, from services to strategy, from transactions to transformation. When clients hire a firm today, they are essentially buying insight into the future. They want to know not just how a project will be built, but how it will perform under the weight of tomorrow's challenges. Can the design withstand climate volatility? Will it adapt to technological upgrades in 5 or 10 years? Will it remain relevant when user behaviors or economic conditions change? These questions are no longer secondary. They are central to how clients evaluate expertise. Delivering a finished bridge, building, or system is one thing. Delivering confidence that the structure will thrive in an unpredictable world is something entirely different and far more valuable. This is why foresight is now a differentiator. It is not enough to be technically excellent. Excellence is expected. The firms that will rise above the noise are those that make the future visible for their clients. That means turning data into predictions, trends into strategies, and uncertainty into opportunity. Imagine presenting a proposal that not only outlines the project scope, but also maps out how the solution will remain resilient in the face of automation, urbanization, or resource scarcity. That is the kind of narrative that resonates with decision makers who are under pressure not just to build, but to build wisely. Another reality is that clients themselves are evolving. They are more informed, more connected, and more demanding than ever before. Many of them are already scanning the horizon for disruptive forces. They expect their partners to be at least one step ahead. In fact, the greatest compliment a client can give is not that a project was delivered smoothly, but that their advisor made them see risks and opportunities they hadn't even considered. That is what establishes trust. That is what turns a one-time project into a long-term relationship. The shift also forces us to redefine what we sell. We are not simply selling engineering drawings, feasibility reports, or consulting hours. We are selling peace of mind. We are selling clarity in chaos. We are selling the ability to help clients move forward with confidence when the path ahead seems uncertain. And the more volatile the world becomes, the more priceless that kind of foresight becomes. Ultimately, the future of this industry will not belong to the firms that promise efficiency alone. It will belong to those that promise vision, because clients are no longer buying what we do, they are buying what we see. Infrastructure has always been a marker of progress, a physical reflection of society's ambition. For centuries, we built roads, bridges, tunnels, and towers to connect, protect, and empower communities. But something fundamental is happening now. The structures we create are no longer passive. They are becoming intelligent, adaptive, and responsive. The line between the physical and the digital world is dissolving, and what we once thought of as infrastructure is transforming into living systems. This is not just an evolution of materials or construction methods. It is a revolution in how we define the built environment itself. Consider the roads we drive on. Traditionally, a road was just asphalt laid across a surface, its purpose fixed and limited. Today, smart highways are being designed with embedded sensors that monitor traffic flow, detect wear and tear, and even communicate with autonomous vehicles. Instead of being static, these roads gather data, interpret it, and provide feedback in real time. They tell us where congestion is forming, where repairs are needed, and where safety risks exist. The result is infrastructure that doesn't just exist, it interacts. Buildings, too, are undergoing the same transformation. Modern offices, hospitals, and schools are wired with systems that optimize lighting, heating, cooling, and energy use based on occupancy and behavior. They can track air quality, adapt to changing conditions, and even predict maintenance needs before a failure occurs. This isn't simply efficiency, it's intelligence. The building becomes a participant in the well-being of its occupants, rather than just a container for them. Over time, such smart environments will reshape how we experience public and private spaces, making them more responsive to human needs and far more sustainable. But with intelligence comes complexity. Designing infrastructure that thinks requires more than pouring concrete or welding steel. It requires integrating sensors, networks, data platforms, and AI-driven analytics into the very core of a project. The skill set demanded of future engineers and consultants expands beyond structural design. It reaches into the realms of data science, cybersecurity, and systems thinking. The challenge is no longer just to build strong structures, but to build interconnected ecosystems. This integration of disciplines is what will define leadership in the field over the coming decades. The implications go even deeper. Intelligent infrastructure also means shifting how we measure value. The success of a bridge in the past was measured by its durability and traffic capacity. Tomorrow, it might be judged by its ability to reduce emissions, adapt to fluctuating demand, or self-report structural issues before they escalate. The success of a building might hinge on how effectively it reduces energy consumption while enhancing occupant well-being. In other words, the future of infrastructure is not about permanence. It's about performance over time. This shift challenges us to think differently about every project we undertake. We are no longer just designing objects, we are designing systems that sense, respond, and evolve. And as infrastructure grows more intelligent, our role is to ensure it serves humanity wisely, enhancing safety, resilience, and sustainability while never losing sight of the people whose lives it is meant to improve. The cities of the future will not be static monuments to engineering, they will be dynamic, living networks. And the question is, are we ready to build for intelligence, not just endurance? Technology often takes the spotlight when we talk about the future, but beneath every innovation is something far more powerful: human talent. Machines may calculate, algorithms may optimize, and systems may predict, but it is people who imagine, question, and ultimately decide. Talent is the ultimate technology because it is the force that drives every other breakthrough. No matter how advanced artificial intelligence becomes, it is human creativity, curiosity, and vision that give technology its purpose. Without people to guide it, technology is nothing more than potential waiting to be unlocked. In industries like engineering and consulting, this truth becomes even more evident. Every bridge, every skyline, every system of transport begins as an idea in someone's mind. It is the ability to envision a possibility and then bring it into existence that sets us apart from machines. That imagination cannot be programmed. It is nurtured in environments where people are encouraged to learn, experiment, and even fail. The organizations that will thrive in the future are the ones that treat talent not as a resource to be managed, but as an engine to be fueled. But talent today requires more than technical skill. In a world where disruption is constant, what matters most is adaptability. Engineers, consultants, and leaders who succeed are those who embrace continuous learning, who remain open to new disciplines, and who seek knowledge outside their comfort zones. A structural engineer may need to understand data analytics. A project manager may need to grasp the basics of cybersecurity. A consultant may need to navigate climate science or behavioral economics. The future belongs to polymaths, people who can connect dots across different fields and imagine solutions no single discipline could create alone. Cultivating such talent is not about offering more training modules, it's about fostering a culture where curiosity is rewarded and questioning is encouraged. Too often, organizations prioritize efficiency and predictability over exploration. But talent grows in environments where ideas are challenged, where collaboration across boundaries is routine, and where innovation is not a side project, but the expectation. If technology is the hardware of progress, talent is the software, and just like software, it must constantly evolve. Another dimension of talent is leadership. Not every individual needs to be a formal leader, but every person in an organization should feel empowered to take initiative, to voice ideas, and to influence outcomes. Empowered talent creates momentum. When people feel ownership over their work, they don't just execute, they innovate. They become invested in not only what they are building, but why they are building it. That sense of purpose is what transforms employees into pioneers. Ultimately, machines will continue to amplify our abilities, but they will never replace the essence of human talent. They can process information, but they cannot dream. They can optimize systems, but they cannot imagine futures. Talent is the rare technology that grows richer with use, sharper with challenge, and more valuable with time. If we want to design resilient, intelligent, and adaptive infrastructure, our greatest investment must be in people. Because in the end, it is not technology that defines our destiny, it is the talent that wields it. For decades, the guiding principle in our industry was sustainability. We asked how to build with fewer resources, how to minimize waste, and how to reduce environmental footprints. That mission was vital, and it still matters deeply. But the world we face now has introduced a new priority: resilience. We no longer live in a time when the biggest challenge is how to sustain what we build. The real test is whether what we create can withstand and adapt to the shocks that will inevitably come. Sustainability answers the question of efficiency, but resilience answers the question of survival. Consider the kinds of risks we face today. Climate volatility has made storms more destructive, wildfires more frequent, and flooding more severe. Global pandemics have shown us how fragile our interconnected systems can be. Cyber attacks are now as real a threat to critical infrastructure as physical damage, and geopolitical uncertainty can disrupt supply chains overnight. These are not distant hypotheticals. They are realities we are already living through. In this environment, resilience means more than durability. It means designing systems that can bend without breaking, adapt without collapsing, and recover without losing their essential purpose. Take, for example, the traditional approach to building a bridge. In the past, success was measured by how long the structure could last with minimal maintenance. Today, success might also be measured by how quickly the bridge can return to service after a major flood, or how effectively it can integrate sensor data to identify weaknesses before disaster strikes. Similarly, in urban design, resilience means creating cities with energy grids that can reroute power during blackouts, transportation systems that continue to function in emergencies, and water networks that remain secure even under extreme stress. Resilience shifts the focus from permanence to adaptability. This shift also demands that we redefine value. The cheapest solution is no longer necessarily the best one if it leaves communities vulnerable to collapse when crises hit. Clients and stakeholders are beginning to recognize that investing in resilience is not a luxury. It is an insurance policy against the unpredictable. A resilient hospital, for instance, is not just a building, it's a lifeline when disaster strikes. A resilient data center is not just an asset, it's the backbone of continuity for entire economies. The returns on resilience are measured not just in dollars saved, but in lives protected and futures secured. For professionals in engineering and consulting, embracing resilience requires a mindset change. We must anticipate uncertainty instead of assuming stability. We must design projects that can evolve, not just endure. We must also integrate cross-disciplinary insights from climate science to cybersecurity, because resilience is not a single-issue challenge. It is a holistic one. The most successful projects of the future will not only stand tall in calm conditions, but remain functional, adaptive, and valuable in the face of chaos. Resilience, then, becomes the ultimate measure of relevance. Sustainability asks us to do less harm. Resilience asks us to ensure continuity of life, business, and society itself. In a century defined by uncertainty, the structures and systems that endure will be those built not only to last, but to adapt. That is the new benchmark for excellence in our work. Leadership today is often misunderstood as the ability to have all the answers. In reality, the leaders who will shape the future are not those who stand on stage with complete certainty, but those who are willing to admit what they don't know, to ask hard questions, and to make bold decisions even when the outcome is unclear. Certainty is comforting, but it is also dangerous in a world where disruption is constant and the future refuses to be predictable. Courage, not certainty, is what defines true leadership. Courage in leadership begins with the willingness to step into ambiguity. Every major decision we face, whether it is adopting a new technology, rethinking a business model, or investing in resilient infrastructure, comes with unknowns. There will never be perfect data or flawless projections. Waiting until every variable is controlled is another way of saying we will never act. Leaders with courage understand that hesitation can be more costly than failure. They act decisively not because they are sure they are right, but because they are prepared to learn, adapt, and adjust along the way. This kind of courage also involves taking risks that others might shy away from. In industries like engineering and consulting, it is tempting to rely on tradition, to repeat what has worked before. But playing it safe is the most unsafe strategy in times of rapid change. A courageous leader pushes their teams beyond incremental improvements and into uncharted territory. They ask, what if we reimagined the process entirely? What if we designed for challenges that haven't arrived yet? What if we bet on ideas that seem impossible now but could be essential tomorrow? The answers may not be certain, but the act of asking ignites progress. Equally important, courage in leadership is about creating a culture where others feel safe to take risks too. A single leader's boldness means little if their team is paralyzed by fear of failure. The best leaders inspire courage in others by rewarding curiosity, celebrating experimentation, and framing failure as a step toward discovery. When people know they are supported, even if things don't go as planned, they stop hiding behind caution and start contributing their most ambitious ideas. That collective courage becomes an unstoppable force for innovation. Finally, courage requires vision. It is not reckless action or blind optimism. It is the ability to see beyond immediate pressures and imagine a different kind of future, even when that vision is not obvious to everyone else. A courageous leader does not follow the path of least resistance. They carve out a new path and bring others along. They are not defined by their ability to predict the future with certainty, but by their willingness to build it in the face of uncertainty. In the end, history rarely remembers those who played it safe. It remembers those who dared, those who made decisions that seemed risky at the time, but changed the trajectory of industries, communities, and even nations. Leadership today is not about perfection, it is about bravery. The world does not need more certainty. It needs leaders willing to act boldly when certainty is impossible. That is the essence of courage, and that is what will define the next generation of leadership.